My name is Jaco Jacobs. I am a South African children's book author, and I grew up in a small Karoo town where I fell in love with books and with stories at a very early age. Some of my best and fondest memories are about my mother taking me to this town library, which was a wonderful, magical place. And I grew up in a creative environment with a grandfather who could remember loads of folk tales and loved telling us folk tales and spooky stories. My grandmother could recite every single poem that she ever learned in school. So I think that's where my love of stories started. I remember the moment I learned to write when I was 7 years old. I started writing down my own stories, drawing pictures and stapling them together. So throughout my school career I was creative, I loved writing, and then in high school I started to become serious about writing. I knew this was what I wanted to do for a living. So when I was 18 years old, my first stories were submitted to magazines and eventually published, and then I went on to start writing children's books just soon after finishing school. One of the things that I most enjoy about writing for kids is the fact that this genre is so varied. I've written books for kids of different ages, like picture books, which are meant for the very young. This is the kind of book your mom and dad read to you when you are still small and you want to listen to bedtime stories. So this one is called The Very, Very Funny Book. This one is called This is a Book About Monsters or Fairies, depending on how you read the cover. And this one is called As Long as It's Not a Dog. Then for older, more confident readers who can read by themselves, I've created books like Fluffy, Madcap, which is a madcap monster truck adventure, Monster Hair, and this one is called Stinky Socks. It's a really gross story about a school camp. As a kid, I remember how much I loved reading books that form part of a series, because you fall in love with the characters, and when the book is done you can just rush off to the library or to the bookstore and get the next one in the series. So this is a series of books about a boy called Zach Berry and his best friend Vincent, who get up to all sorts of mischief. The first one in the series is called Zack Attack, and the second one is called Zack is Back. And then this series is one of my favorites that I've ever written. It's about a boy called Valdu who has all sorts of spooky adventures. There's books like Valdu and the Werewolf in the Red Tackies and Valdu and the Vampire in the Yellow Raincoat. And then lastly, I also write books for older readers. This book is called The Girl with Wings. This one is called Grandpa Zombie, and this one is called The Bookshop in the Clouds. Well, apart from English, my books have also been translated into Italian. Some of them have been translated into Dutch. This is a Portuguese edition of one of my books that I recently received. They've also been translated into Slovenian, and I know there is a Russian and a Chinese translation on the way as well. So it's really wonderful seeing your stories getting wings and flying overseas and reaching new audiences. Well, my hobbies include reading, of course, running. I go for a run nearly every single day. I love doing long distance races. Then I also collect cool socks, like this pair of Asterix socks. And here behind me you can see part of my Pears collection. Those of you who don't know, Pears are these sweet dispensers that come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. And I think I have about 400 different ones by now. I love collecting these little guys. These two guys here next to me are called Croc, and this is his best friend Pickle, and they are the main characters in a beginner reading series that I've created called Croc and Pickle. There are different levels in this series. It's also available in Afrikaans as Croc en Dil, and I think you two are some of my favorite characters that I've I've ever created, even though you are always getting up to mischief, because every time I write about these two, they make me laugh. It was such fun creating this series. I have been writing children's books for over 20 years now, and it has been an absolute blast. It's such a privilege being able to drag kids along on these story journeys and these adventures that I go on inside my head, and I can't imagine myself doing anything else in the future. Unfortunately, we live in a country where literacy levels are extremely low, but as an author, I love embracing that challenge of creating books that will hopefully make kids fall in love with reading, and hopefully doing my part to raise the next generation of readers in our country.